The K-drama industry is at an all-time high, and it's resulted in some of the best sci-fi stories of the century. Whether a plot is focused on realistic technological advancements, rooted in rapidly worsening ecological concerns, or geared towards alternate futures with time machines and humanoid hybrids, science fiction has always been one of the most important genres that holds a mirror up to society. While minds like Mary Shelley and H.G. Wells are credited with defining the genre, sci-fi K-dramas are incredibly common, and just as interesting. Korean series that incorporate sci-fi elements may be gritty dramas that pose philosophical questions, but there are undoubtedly just as many light-hearted romantic comedies with a STEM twist. As a result, sci-fi fans of any disposition have their pick of swoon-worthy, unsettling, or thought-provoking K-dramas to fulfill their speculative fantasies. Yet, while there's surely something for everyone, it's important for sci-fi fans to know where to look before kicking off their K-drama journey. Signal 2 detectives find an ally on the other end of a mysterious radio. By far one of the most quintessential K-dramas that includes science fiction is Signal, a genre-bending crime procedural that adds in a hint of tech-based mystery. The series begins with two skilled investigators, criminal profiler Park Hae-young, Lee Jae-hoon, and detective Cha Soo-hyun, Kim Hae-soo, discovering a strange radio. When they connect to someone on the other side of the walkie-talkie, the pair realize their correspondent is Lee Jae-han, Cho Jin-woong, a renowned detective who vanished over a decade prior. Seemingly from the 1990s, Jae-han helps Hae-young and Soo-hyun crack cold cases by passing on key details from the past. As the unlikely team solidifies their odd arrangement, however, another unsolved case lingers perpetually in the background: Jae-han's disappearance. Aside from being one of the most unique versions of time travel ever created, Signal is the perfect mix of tense crime drama and immersive science fiction, making it a truly thrilling watch. Moving in a world where superheroes are eradicated, three neighboring families resist. Typically, superheroes exist in a liminal space between science fiction and fantasy, but Moving was purposefully marketed as both. The action-packed family drama centers on three high school students who inherit superhuman powers from their parents. The only issue, of course, is that numerous government organizations are hell-bent on eradicating superheroes entirely, meaning the main families, helmed by former special agents, must use their professional expertise to keep the neighborhood safe. Regardless of whether you think Moving should be classified as a sci-fi or fantasy K-drama, there's no denying it's a masterclass in storytelling and narrative balance. With such a diverse ensemble cast, the characters could have easily blended together or felt unnecessary, but each person the viewer meets has their own pivotal role to play in rebelling against the corrupt government. The highly anticipated Season 2 will likely drop in 2026, so Moving is a must-watch for any superhero fan in need of a new fixation. The Silent Sea: A Risky Mission leaves a crew of astronauts embroiled in cosmic chaos. The Silent Sea is a highly contentious title, but it certainly feels like a classic sci-fi story. In a world where most of the planet's safe drinking water has been drained, the drama follows a ragtag group on an emergency expedition to the moon. Mere years prior, however, over 100 people mysteriously died at their destination, an abandoned lab known as Balhi Station. The truth behind the tragedy soon becomes apparent when the team discovers a bizarre element with disastrous side effects. Despite being led by two of the most beloved K-drama actors in the business, Gong Yoo, Han Yoon-jae, and Bae Suzy, Song Jian, The Silent Sea is often overlooked, even by avid fans of the genre. Nonetheless, the series fuses sci-fi with horror in a vastly underutilized setting to create a gripping, if not divisive, storyline. If you enjoy thrills and chills and are willing to overlook some less-than-realistic physics, The Silent Sea is definitely the way to go. Train one man's quest to save the love of his life takes him to another universe. Many of the greatest sci-fi stories include some otherworldly journey, and Train is no exception. Seo Do-won, Yoon Sher-yoon, is a dedicated detective whose life turns upside down following the murder of his wife, Han Seo-kyung, Kyung Soo-jin. As grief sinks its claws in, Do-won finds himself growing exponentially desperate to catch Seo-kyung's killer, which leads him straight to the eponymous train that takes him to a parallel universe. There, Do-won finds a different version of the world, including himself. Rather than a staunch proponent of the law, Do-won in Universe B is a corrupt cop. Instead of being a powerful prosecutor, Seo-kyung is a frigid detective with a chip on her shoulder. Most importantly, an emotionless working relationship replaces their marriage, leading Do-won to search for answers regarding his wife's death while simultaneously falling for her all over again. As the time travel-adjacent K-drama asserts, however, fate is a big obstacle that only few can overcome. My love from the Stare: A classic romantic comedy with an extraterrestrial twist. Nevertheless, science fiction doesn't always have to be a deadly serious affair. My Love from the Star has an absurd premise, an A-list actress falling in love with an alien, but it's considered a classic K-drama romance and a trailblazer of Korean sci-fi. Be it melodramatic plot twists or steamy kiss scenes, My Love from the Star oozes a nostalgic kind of charm that will have every viewer daydreaming about their own intergalactic love story. Ironically, the wacky extraterrestrial romance is partially based in reality, as it draws inspiration from some of the earliest recorded UFO sightings in Korean history. That small detail makes My Love from the Star twice as entertaining, but the rom-com won't be worthwhile for everybody. Even still, any hopeless romantic sci-fi fans should run, not walk, to watch the quirkiest love story of the 2010s. Sisyphus, the myth. Two unlikely heroes band together to stop the world's imminent collapse. For those who love a good apocalypse, Sisyphus, the myth will be more your speed. The K-drama thriller follows Kang Seo-hae, Park Shin-hye, a woman hardened by nuclear war who travels back in time in hopes of